Happy Wednesday, everyone. And it is a very, very happy Wednesday if you are an English football fan or English person, full stop. History was made last night, James, and great news for the country.
Yeah, excellent game last night for England, obviously defeating Germany 2-0. I'm sure, I think the viewing figures this morning, virtually the whole nation was watching, I think. Lots of fun video clips from sort of Box Park and various other sort of public viewing venues. Great to see everyone sort of, celebrating and getting the result to progress into the quarterfinals. We know our opponents now as well, playing Ukraine thanks to their 120th minute winner in extra time last night against Sweden. So exciting quarter round draw.
Yeah, great news for the country. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone had a great and safe night last night, watching and enjoying the football and celebrations. Let's hope it carries on, and let's hope England can go all the way. So history last night, first time in 55 years England have beaten Germany in a knockout, and history in the last week with residential sales figures. James, let's go straight into that.
Yes, as we brought you the news last week of the weekly sales really starting to accelerate as we move towards the end of the stamp duty deadline, which coincidentally is today, the last day for completions, to be able to have the first £500,000 of your property purchase to be full relief from stamp duty. So last week we had 383 sales. We were commentating on whether that could have been the peak, but we did have some weeks remaining in the month of June. This week, crazy weekly sales figures, 437. This breaks the records since the records began in terms of the data we have going back, eclipsing the sales that we saw in the build up to the March 2016 stamp duty surcharge, eclipsing some of those levels that we saw in the real height of the market in 2006 moving through to 2007. The market at the moment is extremely hot. Everything on Rightmove is selling very close to asking price, in many cases competitive bids, best and final offers. Estate agents are extremely busy at the moment. There's some slight stock shortages as well, which is almost fueling the demand. It's going to be an interesting 2 weeks now as the final bits of data come through. And we see the impact of that extension of the stamp duty holiday.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see these numbers, the growth and acceleration and volume of sales that are transacting in the residential space across the UK really have gone well beyond expectations now. And I suppose the only question, James, is there still one more week? Because remember, there's a very slight time lag in terms of the data that we're receiving. So maybe we're a week behind. The stamp duty window closes tomorrow. Is there the possibility that this time next week, when we've done the closeout for June's numbers, that we're going to be in and around this figure?
Well, we commentated about this last week. You would anticipate the sales to go up in terms of the weekly numbers as people generally, just their intuition, they will work towards that final deadline. As we get sort of more and more deals trying to get over the line, you'd anticipate the highest figures to be right at the wire prior to the cut-off point of the stamp duty holiday or the main bulk of the savings. So I think it could be one more week of real surging sales. Just to give you some flavour in terms of how high the sales are this week. When the market was very hot coming out of lockdown last year in the months of July, August, September, with a real surge moving through November and December, those weekly sales were only around 200 per week. This week's sales, 437, phenomenally phenomenal performance from the property market, extremely hot, lots of buyers in the market, not only looking to make use of those stamp duty savings, but I think there's a lot of people with some rejuvenated confidence in the market, with hopefully the country looking to move out of lockdown and their sort of tiered restrictions in the mid-July period. 19th of July is the new unlock date. I think that's also bringing some more confidence into the property market.
Yeah, I mean, we've also seen the Halifax and nationwide figures come out this week, and generally there's always a bit of a gap, 10%, 12% year on year. So the growth is accelerating, again, fueled by all the reasons that we've said. And I think what the banks and the lenders and the salespeople and the credit and the risk really want to know is there a sustainability to this? Does it have legs to carry on? Again, we're asking the question every week because it's so pertinent. For sure, it will for the next weeks and months, just for the volume of trade taking place. And then I think the bigger question is, where are we going to be in November, December, January of next year? What's it really going to look like when things calm down, settle down? Hopefully the worst of COVID is through. Hopefully furlough is ended and we're living in a new normality. It's the big question we all want to know the answer to is, when the market settles down, what does it actually look like? And I think that's where this data that we're providing on a weekly basis and what we're seeing on the ground with the volumes of valuations that we're doing is just trying to understand how robust, how strong, how firm the UK property sector, both commercially and residentially, is.
Yes, definitely, Rob. I think, like you say, the coming weeks and months, the demand is going to continue. There's going to be some overhanging deals which haven't quite got across the line at the end of this month today. With July and August, we'd anticipate slightly subdued levels of demand as we've seen in the last few weeks, which have been completely off the chart, unprecedented. But one of my thoughts as well for this process and for the last 12 months of the stamp duty threshold, it's almost been a bit of an experiment for the government. It's turned out that they're playing with the stamp duty. It's almost like a new fiscal tool or instrument they've got to sort of fine-tune the economy, and something that it's like an extra string to their bow in terms of they've got obviously some of the tax changes, interest rates, and some of the other fiscal measures which they can bring into play. And I think it's something that will, it obviously dramatically affects the property market, and whether there will be any tweaks moving forward on the back of this, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm going to a bit more detail the data that we look at. I find it really interesting that over the last month, the fall through rate of these deals has been very low, a very low number. And what's really interesting is that properties being withdrawn has gone to one of the lowest levels that we've ever seen. And at the same time, instruction levels remain really consistent at a very nice level. So what does that mean? The instructions are coming on, they're going under offer or selling. Very few deals are falling through, and now very few properties are being withdrawn. And that, within itself, that equation and that dynamic really shows you the strength of the market, because stuff's coming on, it's not being withdrawn, very low numbers, very few of the deals are falling through, high sales rates, high number of under offers. All of that says strong, robust market. So I think we've got to keep our eye on that over the coming weeks. That's a shift change. The withdrawn properties going down to probably one of the lowest levels we've seen. That's a shift change, and that really shows the strength of the residential space. What other data we got? What other information are we sharing this week, James?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. So we've got a second handout two here, which it's a graphic here put together from Rightmove, and it's a national graphic of the country, and it's the percentage of homes selling at or above their asking price in July 2021, earlier this year. And as you can see, nearly a third of properties have been selling at or above their asking price, which again highlights your point there, Rob, in terms of the low number of withdrawn properties against the new instructions. A high proportion are selling, and I think this statistic and graphic really highlights that it's not just the market in London, it's actually on a national level that the market is performing extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that information is really interesting, and I love the fact that in a 2021 world, we're now getting stronger data and stronger patterns to understand the behavioral patterns of the market, like you're presenting and bringing forward, that previously we wouldn't have had. And I think that just changes the intelligence levels from an oversight perspective, especially from us as a service provider to our lenders. I think it really means we can go really deep and provide analytics that previously wouldn't have been possible.
Definitely. And just to give you some headline statistics on that, as a whole across England and Wales, around 37% of properties in that January 21 period sold at or above their asking price, 37%. Here in London, we were slightly lower, about 30%, with the highest being in Yorkshire and the Humber. Nearly half, 45% of properties achieved at or in excess of their asking price in January 2021. Again, coming out of the sort of Christmas period, the market was still performing extremely well at that period in time. We've got a further graphic for you as well, Rob, which further highlights this point. It's got some of the tabulated statistics from the previous graphic in the first column in terms of the percentage of homes selling at or above their asking price. But then it also gives a holistic view based on the markets as a whole in those districts. On the average percentage of the final asking price achieved, of which, as you look down the list, nearly all of them are around 98%, the lowest of which is Wales, 97.5% of their asking price achieved. So it highlights the point, Rob, again, that the stock which does reach the market is selling very well, is achieving close to asking price within on average 2% of the asking price figure, which again I think backs up our data which we've been bringing you in the previous weeks of the relatively low withdrawn properties, good levels of new instructions, and obviously high levels of weekly sales.
Yeah, I think once you start backing up that data with the sales evidence that's proceeding and going through now, it's very clear that asking prices are being achieved or very close to, like you said, 97, 98%. And then the large percentage of deals now that are superseding asking price, where you've got some bidding wars, you've got best and finals, you've got premiums, and anyone that's on risk and credit and sanction, I suppose, really has to be aware of the pitfalls of a market that's so buoyant and so hot in terms of whether it's reasonable for someone to get involved in that kind of transaction, sealed bids, best and finals, premiums, bidding wars. And from a lender perspective, what the lender would be comfortable lending against, knowing that someone maybe has had to outbid other offers to secure the property that they want.
Definitely, Rob. We're going to have to wait and see what comes out of this and how sustainable it is past the next weeks and months, and how the market adjusts to possibly, some slightly higher transactional costs in terms of the stamp duty returning, and whether the stock levels which are being brought on, whether they fluctuate at all. It's quite typical in the sort of autumn months, which the market sort of reignites itself after the summer. So whether those seasonal trends shine through, or whether the sort of the blips which have been caused by the various lockdowns actually smooth these traditional seasonal sort of highs and lows.
Brilliant, James. Any other wider property news to share this week?
Yeah, a few bits have been happening in the property market in terms of out-of-town retail. Leon have due to debut their drive-through concept in West Yorkshire, being a fully 100% renewable energy and including solar panels on their roof. I thought it was quite an interesting concept, with Leon obviously being taken over earlier this year, being bought out. They're going to see quite a rapid expansion in terms of their stores and look to gain some more market share in that industry by opening new stores, mainly with new drive-through concepts. We know that the supermarket Lidle is due to open 50 stores in the next year to increase their market share. Like we mentioned previously, M&S has been sort of restructuring their outlook, slightly reducing their close outlet stores, increasing their supermarkets, which I think is a bit of a trend, as we've been seeing and commentating on, Rob. This out-of-town retail is going to be increasingly popular, we believe, with people spending less time in the sort of town centres, city centres, and people wanting more flexibility and access to these amenities on an out-of-town basis.
Excellent. And anything else for this week before we go?
That's it from me.
Brilliant. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for waiting for Super Prime Special. It will be coming soon. Thank you for listening on the podcast. New podcast sessions are going to be coming to you soon. Thank you for following on YouTube. Thank you for following live. Thank you for requesting the data when you want it. Thank you for asking the questions. Thank you for supporting across all platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, and everywhere else. Let's hope the football journey continues. Let's hope that next Wednesday we're hopefully embarking on a semi-final, and let's hope that football does eventually come home. So let's keep the country in good spirits. Hope everyone remains safe and well. Thank you all for supporting the platform and supporting #AskrobcoCo with MJ Group. And thank you, James, for all of your great intel and great updates every week. Very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. Be safe, stay happy and healthy, and we will see you all again soon.
Thanks very much, everyone.